Hey, it's me, Legastic, and here's why you need to hear Lebanon Hanover. Lebanon Hanover, post-punk Coldwave goth band that celebrates sadness and romanticizes death. So stay with me as we delve into their music, take a closer look at this enigmatic duo. Lebanon Hanover was formed in 2010 by Larissa Iceglass and William Maybelline. Larissa, originally from Switzerland, met Sunderland-based William online through Last.fm. Sharing a love for Coldwave and early post-punk and minimal synth music, they quickly began collaborating despite living in different countries. Their band name, Lebanon Hanover, is a combination of two small towns in New Hampshire, USA. They simply liked the sound of the names together. They definitely found an understanding with each other, and they became a couple at one point and started to create these dark, sad sounds. And it was actually at their first session that they created about 5 of the songs that would later go on their first album. Lebanon Hanover's music is usually very minimalist. It's got heavy, thick bass lines, simple drum machine patterns, icy synths and distinctive vocals. Larissa's voice is cold, detached, you could say slightly lackadaisical and standoffish, whereas William's vocals, by contrast, are darker, deeper and sound more anguished. So it creates this quite unusual balance between them. I actually took a friend to see them live, and to be honest, I think the two of them had maybe drunk a bit too much, but I always remember my mate said they basically listened to The Cure, A Forest, and stuck with that sound, which, yeah, I can see that. And to be honest, I love that song, so I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Their visual aesthetic is also similar to the sound. It's minimalist, dark, gothic, a lot of black, often monochromatic, and they've said themselves, aesthetically, we are drawn to romantic/art nouveau and the 20s and 80s period of the last century. Old framed black and white photos, movies, clothes. We love the well-mannered androgynous look, dressed in gloom, which I think is very apt. So if you like what you're hearing so far, let's get into their discography. In 2011, Lebanon Hanover released their debut album, The World Is Getting Colder. The album introduced their hallmark sound, its minimalist arrangements, very stark bass lines, melancholy vocals, and overall a cold, quite detached atmosphere with the odd German lyric that helps as well. Die World is very representative of the band, and it's a great intro song, not just to the album, but also the band itself. There are other tracks such as Totally Tot, which again I quite like the dark sound, but lyrically it's not quite for me. Sounds more like a bit of a joke song and I can't really take it seriously, but have a quick listen and see what you think. So to me, this first album, it still sounds like they're trying to find their sound, right? I don't listen to it as much as the others, but I feel it's grown on me more over the years. My main grievance is the repeating bass lines, which for me get infuriating after a while. I just don't like the sound of it. I think it's way too high in the mix and it's way too clean as well. And with no offense to Maybelline, but I prefer it when Iceglass sings as well. It feels much more intoxicating. Which is something I still feel to this day, to be honest, even though I feel like the gap is closer, it's more evident on these early albums. Generally, I find it a lot harder to enjoy this album than the others, but Die World is still one of my favourites, and also it has Die World 2, the sequel, which isn't bad either. Then not long after that was released, we got the album Why Not Just Be Solo, again in 2012. The sound here feels a lot more produced, even in that short space of time. The bass you can hear has now had a filter, or they're playing with it in some degree, and it just lies generally much better within the mix. The vocals sound a lot more clearer and fuller with a nice deep reverb, but it still sounds quite raw, and it's a lot more of an easier listen than the previous album. Also, some of the drum sounds are mixed up a bit. You've got I'm a Reject, for instance, has a bit of a rockier edge. Let's have a quick listen. generally speaking, throughout this album, there's a lot more guitar and it just adds a much needed layer that gives it a bit more grit. The songs also go from less angry experimental goth to a much more confident, sad sound with some nice hooks. So when we go through the track listing, Saddest Smile is another great opener and perhaps my favourite Lebanon Hanover song, to be honest. Ice Glass does pretty much all the singing on this album, which I prefer, but the album feels like almost a big yawn with some edgier moments. It's just a little lifeless, and at some points when I listen to it, I think it can be slightly derivative, but it definitely sets the mood and it's an improvement on the first album. Then in 2013, they released Tune for Two, which is arguably their most popular album, mainly because of the hugely popular song Gallow Dance, and also Sadness is Rebellion, which they ended up using on a lot of their merch as a tagline. You'll hear that there's more range in their vocal melodies now, which gives it more dynamism. And when they do go to that deeper note when they sing, it stands out now a lot more from the rest of the song, rather than almost this like deep, dark, more monotonous tone that you're swimming in. It stands out a little bit more. They also experimented more with their synth sound, with some of the producing techniques, and it just generally sounds like a bit more of a mature sound. You've also got the track I Believe You Can Survive, also one of my favourite tunes, and it's got some cool Depeche Mode style sounds behind it that just makes it a lot more interesting.
There is no masquerade, just purity and realness, from head to toe discrepancy, unlike anyone here.
In terms of the other tracks, I also like Autofocus Has Ruined Quality, which is a ridiculous title, but still. And I feel like the synth game is more on point here. Bass work and the guitar work feels more fresh generally, and the whole album it feels more dynamic as a result. Then in 2015, they released Beside the Abyss, and this is probably the album that I've listened to the least, and I don't really know why, just happens to be the case. I like the guitar work on opener Hollow Sky, for instance, slightly Johnny Marr sounding. And also there's the dark sub-bass on the Crater, which is quite cool. Just generally going back to this album, I feel like I should give it more of a listen in the future. I haven't really done the due diligence here. It was quite surprising actually listening back to it, how much I liked this album compared to some of the others, and I just hadn't listened to it that much. It just has more of a celebratory, bigger sound to it, but it also feels more reflective as well. The synths, it sounds like they're going in like almost like a French electro sound at some points, which is quite strange. But there's just a lot more texture to it. It feels like it's these atmospheric like pads, this kind of sweeping sounds, rather than the smaller, more direct synth sounds that they've used before. I mean, you also even get saxophone on track The More, which is great by the way, and a more acoustic side in Broken Characters, which sounds great as well. It's definitely their most, I would say, underappreciated album, I think. Well, by me at least. Then there's 2018's Let Them Be Alien, which is probably their next most popular album, I would say. Maybelline does a lot more singing on this album, actually, and I feel like it's a lot more effective here than it has been before. It just gives a bit more of a different sound that we've only heard in glimpses, perhaps, on the previous albums. You've got opener Alien.
And until then, my desolation will be my train.
also like some of the lo-fi sounds on the next track, Gravity Sucks. But it's the popular Kiss Me Until My Lips Fall Off, which I think is brilliant in every single which way. I think the bass and the guitar, like working together but also against each other, makes this quite cool sound, and it's actually perfectly suited for Maybelline's voice. It's just generally a great performance, and it's just a bit different and more interesting.
Kiss me until my lips fall off. Kiss me until I start to rot. Kiss me until kingdom come. Forever, forever.
You've also got a bit more energy in some of the other tracks on the album, like Du Scrollst and True Romantics, which just feel a lot more alive as a result. It feels like Maybelline's vocals are also finding its home here, and this is where I really think, yeah, okay, like I'm listening to him singing and being, yeah, this is more like it, this is what I want to hear. Again, their synth sound is improved, and I would say it's become even more Depeche Mode, but I like the variety and how it interacts with the vocal melody. It just makes it more interesting and more engaging to listen to. Also, closing song Petals has a small space in my heart, I guess. The guitar work is nice here, but you can really feel that sadness and longing, and it makes me want to listen to the album from the beginning again, which I think is always a great thing to have as a closing song. So yeah, great album. Then we move on to their most recent, which is 2020's Sci-Fi Sky. They've definitely upped their game in terms of production and sound. It has more of a new order, I would say, sound to it now. You've got track The Last Thing, which is a highlight of mine. Can have a quick listen. And as you can hear, it has more of a hook and a nice vocal and melody. The problem with this album is that I can't help but think I've had a lot of it done better in previous albums, and even though there's some bigger, epic, darker, almost supernatural edge to it, it's not really enough here to make this album that I want to return to that often. And, you know, that's the problem. I mean, if I was being really harsh, I would have liked to have seen their sound develop more over the years. Instead, it's variations on factors they know work, and when they get the combo right, it really works well. Lebanon Hanover has played a major role, I would say, in reviving Coldwave and post-punk for a new generation. I mean, Gallo Dance in itself has become a huge hit in, you know, the modern Darkwave genre. In terms of what they're doing now, it's been a bit quiet after some touring. Maybelline has his side project, Qual, which is a bit more industrial, goth, electronic dance sounds. I can just play a quick track here. As you can hear, it's just a lot more intense than Lebanon Hanover, so you might enjoy that. Ice Glass has currently formed a new project called, and excuse me if I get this wrong, Pissoir des Dieux, with one song called Hotel Grand Amour, which, to be honest, I love. It's very kind of Lynchian Twin Peaks sound to it. It's like you're in a smoky bar or cafe. So I would say go check it out. And it's only got 5,000 plays on Spotify at the moment. So I'll put all the links below and I'll play a little bit of it here. So that's it. A quick little tease into Lebanon Hanover, a band that I think is definitely worth listening to, with some great tracks over their 10-ish year career. And yeah, go out and check them out. Remember to subscribe and all that stuff, like, comment, etc. if you like it, if you hate it, what you think of the band. Perhaps you've been a fan forever. Do you think their sound has got better? Has it got worse? Like, what do you like about it? And then, yeah, hopefully if you like the sound of Lebanon Hanover, you might like some of my music too, which you can find on all the links below. Just go across the channel. You can see my playlist, which has all my tracks on. So go take a look. Anyway, that's it for me now. I'll see you soon.